Hello and welcome to Sunday Politics on Trust TV, your go-to for everything politics, policy and governance. I am Shafi'u Suleiman. Tonight, we dive into the political storm brewing in Rivers State, where the recent local council elections have sparked controversy. The Action People's Party, a lesser-known player, has swept all 23 councils after both the PDP and APC boycotted the elections. Governor Sim Pobar seems to have won this round of the power struggle against his former boss and current FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. But what does this battle for control over local government mean for governance and democracy in Rivers State and the people and beyond? Now, joining us virtually to unpack the issues is Rivers State Commissioner for Information Joe Johnson. We will also be turning our searchlight on the northern Nigeria's declining economic fortunes and the challenges facing the region with unemployment, poverty and insecurity on the rise. What's at stake for Nigeria's most populous region? And joining us to discuss this is Ibrahim Biu, the former National Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Consultative Forum. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Right. While we wait for Mr. Johnson to join virtually from Port Harcourt, we'll commence with the conversation here.
Okay.
Northern Nigeria, a very, very promising, rich, most populous, region in Nigeria. Before independence, before now, has been one of the,
prosperous,
and most progressive, if you like. Region with industries booming, agriculture, agricultural production also on the rise, and so on and so forth. And today, some will say it's a sad story. Industries have virtually gone. Agriculture is also struggling.
That is it.
Trade and other investments have eluded this region. Let me get your perspective. Why is this happening?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying thank you for having me on this program. If you look at it in the last 25 years of this Fourth Republic, or is it, I think, Fourth Republic?
Yes, the Fourth Republic.
Right. The kind of politics we've been playing in the last 24 years of this democracy, really, instead of going forward, in my opinion, I think we seem to be going backward. Why? Especially in the north, we depend solely on agriculture. And if you observe the administrations, from 1999 up to date, though one can say they have paid much attention to agriculture, some, but the allocation, federal allocation and even state allocation of resources to agriculture is really below what we expect in order to improve food production and other things. Unfortunately, we had this issue of Boko Haram.
The insecurity generally.
General insecurity.
Because beyond Boko Haram, we have the banditry,
kidnapping for ransom, cattle wrestling, and so many other things. This has really distorted our economy in the north, because most of our people are farmers, traders, herders, and so on. And with this insecurity, their activities have actually been affected, thereby slowing down economic activity in the north and so on. In addition to it, if you look at it also like industries, we used to have industries in Kano, Kaduna, textiles and the rest,
and many others,
many others,
including assembly plants like the Pujo.
That is it, including and so on. But the power that is the main drive for economic prosperity has been very slow. By our projection, from 1999 to date, we should have been having at least about 15,000 megawatts to 20,000
of electricity.
Right. But right now, what we have is even below 5,000. And most of the industries that require power to generate them, to be productive, and to have a lot of people in employment, etc., have collapsed.
Right. Okay, let's look at the issues one after the other. You talked about the resilient or the lack of resilient nature of the economic structure of the region. It largely rely on agriculture, neglecting other sectors. That is, there is no diversification, so to speak. But it's a region that is endowed, with so many potentials, solid minerals. We're talking about beyond, another component of agriculture, livestock production, and so on, and even the industries.
No, but let me tell you, if you want to diversify, you also need a lot of equipment, you need a lot of power, and so many. For example, if you take agriculture, it's not just going to the farm. Clearing of farm needs tractors.
Right.
Even planting needs machines to plant.
Largely,
everything is mechanized.
Mechanized, right.
So, and we don't have it. When you get the products, for example, now like tomato, like other things like onion, preservation is very important. Storage. We don't have facilities to preserve, and most of them perish along the way. Not only that, our people that are, for example, good investors or who have resources to invest, instead of them to establish factories that can utilize these agricultural products, they hardly, and if you ask them, they will tell you because of some of government policies, or because there is no power. Right. Because power is the main driving factor for these industries.
Okay.
So to me, I think it's not that our people are not trying, or industrials also, but the facilities that are necessary for this development are not there.
The enabling environment
that is
there. Okay, let's look at the issues, because before now, yes, substantially people talk about power, which is very critical, to the manufacturing and productive sector. Now, there has been outcry before now that there is need for the federal government to unbundle, if you like, or to look at the laws. Create an enabling environment that will allow states to generate power, which has been substantially addressed. Now states can generate power.
Right.
So that issue has been resolved. But the concern is how much of attention the subnational governments given to this. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, there is no way you can go into manufacturing without power. And then even the agricultural sector also need value addition. So to have this value addition, you also need the factories, the industries that would add value to some of these products.
Right.
We are seeing what is happening take for instance the livestock production.
Right.
Now you find people moving cattle from the north, up south, and almost on daily basis. Some cases having accidents, dying on the road, and what stopped, for instance, the governors from investing in these critical sectors?
But let me, this is what I told you, that instead of us going forward, we are going backward.
Right.
If you recall, or if you can remember, during the First Republic, our let's say our founding fathers, like in the north, established what they call meat factory in Bauchi, to tap all these cattle within Bauchi, Gombe, Borno, and some other They bring them to Bauchi, slaughter them, process them, and put them on a kind of what do you call it? This big train. That was why they established railway from Lagos to Bauchi and then to Maiduguri, so that it will carry all these things. And when they move this process meat, they take them to Lagos to Ijora. At Ijora, they had what they call cold rooms. And this thing was working up to 1980. I know it very well. But somehow, when this issue of privatization and commercialization, etc., started, the facilities were sold out. And even our people, instead of them now to invest, put their resources, they just bought these things over and abandoned them. Let me tell you, in Gombe, we used to have what they call veg fruit to process tomato, mango juice, etc. And there was a big field, of farmland that, they farm rice and so many things. Now, if you go there, at that time, the village, in fact, it's a small village, but they had a factory that was processing tomato, processing mango, juice, etc., etc. But somehow along the line, this privatization,
and perhaps policies too. Some also think that policies.
Yes, especially the government intention was that let our people take over, because it was felt that instead of government, putting so much resources in this, let the people invest.
Yeah, it need to be people,
diversify it, so that the government can now concentrate on other issues like security, like policies, etc., etc. But then, the Nigerians that bought these things over, later on abandoned them. And
perhaps due to some of those reasons you mentioned earlier, there hasn't been profit, for instance, or there is no enabling environment for them to thrive.
No, you see, for example, let me tell you, was it 2013 or so, the federal government unbundled NEPA and sold it out to people. But you and me, can you say now that the Junkos and the Discos are doing better than NEPA?
Even the federal government has been questioning this.
That is it. And on top of that, after selling them out, the government was still subsidizing and paying billions of dollars to these Junkos and what do you call them?
Junkos
and Discos. So what's the point? Why did you then unbundle it and sold it out to people?
But
let me just conclude. To me, I felt these enterprises were sold out to people just on the basis of maybe political connections and so on, not on the basis of their expertise in that field. And this is why we are having problems. So until we address those issues, we'll continue to have problems, which is unfortunate.
Right. Okay. Some these are challenges, and these are issues, just as you rightly mentioned. But then governance exists perhaps to address some of this problem. The reason why people are being elected into power is to look at issues like this and then address them holistically. They can come together and address them where there is need for synergy, like the security we're talking about. The insecurity, which is fundamental. It has virtually done the damage, 60% or so of the damage.
That is it.
Because it has stopped people from going to the farms, even at the peasant level. It has also, displaced people from communities that are hitherto there to do, other commodity business and so on. Even the pastoralists. The livestock producers. We all know when you go to the villages, then you find almost at the front of every house you find 2, 3, 4 cattle, bulls being reared, and by the same people. So the insecurity has largely contributed. That economy has died completely because they either sold them to pay ransom or they must have been rustled by a multiple
Well, like you rightly said, I think what we need now is good governance. Leaders or political leaders must now know, and all of us, especially we in the North, must know that over these years, some of the things that we've been doing, let's all admit that we have really not been doing well. Once you know that what you are doing is not the right thing and it has not paid you, then I think it's better or it's now time for us to sit down and say, look, we cannot continue with this because we have children, we have grandchildren, we have generations coming up.
We're beginning to see the impact of all of this.
So let's now address this issue holistically. And I think recently I had the leadership of ACF taking up this issue seriously to address insecurity, to address issues of unity, peace and reconciliation among ourselves. But first of all, let's admit that we have really not done well.
Okay, so there needs to have a rethink, towards all of this that is happening. Yeah, at the center of all this, I keep saying, perhaps is the leadership, because if the leadership gets it right, then things will begin to manifest. Investment in key sectors, like we said, beyond, investment in security is fundamental. Looking at the current situation of the region. Again, there is need for also investment in human capital development. Education in particular. Now, we're battling with about 18 million out-of-school children. Substantial number of them, about 80% or 90%, come from the North. And we haven't seen much in terms of improvement in budgetary allocation for education. But are we really?
But Shafi'u, let me tell you, like I said, in the last 25 years, our state governors in the North, I'm talking about North in particular, I don't know of other places. If you observe, the budgetary allocation for education has been below 25% of their budgets. Though some states I know, like Kaduna State, and maybe some other states have increased up to 30% or so.
I think the UNESCO benchmark is
25 or 30.
Right.
So, and in most cases, what they do is only to build structures, classrooms. But first of all, you need teachers. We don't have teachers. We used to have what they call teachers' colleges in those days.
And now we have the national teachers, the NTC.
College of Education or whatever. But then you need NTI, people.
National Teachers Institute, or
that
domicile in the North.
That is domicile in the North. But that is just to train teachers. But the teachers' colleges train you for 5 years in those days to train you on the methodology of teaching. So that because you start from the primary school, most of us that are now elites, anybody, I can tell you, maybe from 50 years and above, must have had that teachers' college was there. We had teachers grade 3, grade 2, and then grade 1. They will teach in primary schools. Thereafter, you go to either secondary school or teachers college or craft school or whatever. But now you will find so many beautiful schools.
That is where they are, because in some places even the structure is not there.
It's not there. But in some places you will have them, but you don't have anybody.
The manpower to.
Now the teachers are not there. Right. You find a teacher being paid 10,000 in a month. For God's sake. What is he going to teach? And again, he's not a trained teacher. Anybody that is a dropout, you just call him, be a teacher.
In some cases, goes there. Political supporters are also recruited as a compensation.
So the issue is we are not addressing development because education is key.
Right.
It's from education. If you are educated, you become a good farmer. you become a good security man, you become an industrial, a businessman, or whatever. It's from education, and that from primary school. From primary to
basic,
secondary, the basic.
education.
It's not the university.
From primary to senior to junior secondary. That's what is considered basic.
Well, yes, even up to secondary, because that is why now, I'm sure you must have been seeing some of these graduates when they interview them. It's very funny. They ask him what is the meaning of WAEC. He doesn't even know, and he's a graduate. Some of them are even graduating. So, to me, if we want to really develop, then allocation for education should take priority, especially from the state governments. Because primary schools and I think secondary school is the responsibility of state government.
It's a concurrent. It is under concurrent list. I think that's the reason why you have the SUBEB also. I mean the joint account.
Okay.
Yes.
To assist.
Yes.
But generally, it's the local government and the state government that are responsible for primary and secondary education.
That's it.
And until we do that, there is no way we can take off this. These children from the streets.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Right. Okay, talking about allocation, there has been this concern that, before now, even though it is also an aberration for state governors to wait for the center for virtually everything. A number of them have failed to develop their IGR, internally generated revenue. That's one. And then with the removal of subsidy, for instance, there has been improvement in terms of funding from the center. But people are yet to see the impact of this. You're talking about, improved funding for education, addressing insecurity, creating an enabling environment even for investments to come in.
But you see, the issue is, Shafi'u, for example, before the removal of subsidy, if you had 10,000, now with the removal of subsidy, you need 100,000 to buy the same kind of materials or items you will need for your house. So to me, I'm not an economist, I don't, but the simple reasoning is that if yesterday I had 10,000 and I can buy food at least for the next 1 week for my family, now with 100,000 I cannot afford to buy it for 3 days, then I don't understand. But like the government kept on saying, we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel with patience. Yeah. But you see, that abrupt jacking, removal of subsidy, has jacked up everything, has distorted our life completely. So adjusting it will take years.
But is it not with the support of the governors? Because they are the ones, smiling to the banks. For instance, now money has been allocation.
But this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you.
So why,
if, for example, government, for state governments, for example, if they were given 10 billion before, as allocation, now maybe they are given another maybe 20 billion or 20-something billion. But what they can do with that 10 billion before, now with 30 billion they cannot do it. Because things have gone up. For example, if you are talking about cement has gone up. If you are talking about sand, everything has gone up. Transportation.
So what essence is the removal in the first place?
I think that one is for government to explain. That's why I said I'm not an economist. But logic tells you that, for example, now, before with 25,000 I could fill my tank. But now I need about 60-something thousand to fill my small car, and so on.
Okay, let's look at the other issues. You talked about the monolithic economy, so to speak, agriculture. Yet we have solid minerals, yet we have industries that are commodities and all of that. Power generation, still talking about power generation. Yeah. The North was lucky to have an intervention from the federal government. The Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano pipeline was meant to address the the gap in terms of power generation substantially.
Yeah.
And this project is ongoing. But there hasn't been much interest on the part of the northern governors to like engage the government. I had some couple of months ago the government saying that it will deliver the same project by January next year.
Okay.
But at what level it is, and then we haven't seen much of interest on the part of the governors to say, yes, we are interested in this project and we must ensure that it gets to a logical conclusion because it has a multiplier effect.
Certainly.
If the industries are back, it take up, even
the insecurity issue.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
The idle people would now have something
well,
to do.
I think, I don't know, but I think the northern governors, because if you must have noticed, they've been having meetings and so on. And most of the issues they address in their meetings are security, economy, and maybe social issues within the north. And I believe if this AAK
project,
AAK project that started from Ajakuta up to Kaduna and Kano.
The idea was to
move
to power the
Kapuri
industrial layout, power the industrial layout.
That is it.
And so, some of this.
Well, it's still ongoing, like you rightly said. So to me, I think let's wait until this thing is completed. But then you can say the progress of work is very slow. Because even of recent, if they told us, even before President Buhari left, that the Kano from Kaduna to Kano rail, not even the, what do they call it, the gauge, the standard gauge, but the other one will be completed. But how far is it now?
Even the highway, look at the highway.
That is it.
I've almost 10 years
even
now
from here,
running.
Abuja to Kaduna, before you could spend just maybe about 1.5 hours, 2 hours maximum. Now it takes you more than 3 hours plus, and it's terrible.
Okay. Now,
so these issues, to me, I think our northern governors, not only northern governors, northern legislators need to come out, forcefully and impress on the federal government to do something on these issues.
Right. Okay, talking about, because also you need to create an enabling environment. Now, investment is eluding the region because of insecurity that is pervading, and all of that. Industries have collapsed. Investment is not coming. And how do we get out of this?
No. That's why I told you that northerners or those in position of authority is done on them now. That look, we really have to sit down and address these issues, or else this thing over time will consume us. Not only us, it will consume our children and even grandchildren. So with that kind of thinking, I think, and I strongly believe that maybe in the next 2, 3, 4 years to come, God's willing, they should be able to address some of these issues in order to reduce this insecurity and this, what do I call it?
The unemployment.
The unemployment issue, out of school children. Right. Because I don't really know what is happening to us. Because we've been addressing this issue of out of school. I remember in 2011, Arewa Consultative Forum organized a kind of what we call conference. And at the end of it, all the governors, all the 19 governors were there. At the end of it, we came out with what we call roadmap to develop the North. And in it...
Perhaps it's gathering dust in the shell.
Well, we took it to all the governors. We made copies, thousands of copies, and took it to all of them. In 2016, I personally, at the government house in Kaduna, I took copies because there was a meeting between the governors and the traditional rulers. So I took copies and started, and some of them I said, but we have never seen this thing. But some of you were there when we had this conference. And we took thousands and gave you a chairman. So it's not our responsibility to start distributing it to the governors. But then, and it's very simple. But for example, what we did was on security, this is what you should do. 1, 2, 3, 4. On unemployment, 1, 2, 3, 4. On infrastructure, this. On education, on agriculture. You know, very simple issues.
Was there a modality for
implementation,
follow-up, for instance? You know, because it's one thing to give them this blueprints.
This is why I'm telling you that subsequently we also followed it up. We're still giving them and telling them this is what you should do. Some of them, well, maybe like I reside in Kaduna, this is why I'm talking. Nasiru El-Rufai, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai picked some, and for example, like education, like industry, like infrastructure. He picked some aspects of it and implemented it.
Right.
Well,
before he left, there were about 2 or 3 investments into the state.
That is it. So to me,
very central.
If other states, maybe some other states must have done similar things. I remember, I think, is it Gombe or something, did similar things in terms of education, infrastructure, in terms of this harnessing of livestock, etc. Kano State, well, they also did very well. And some other states, you know. So to me...
Do you think... all right, okay.
To me, all that we need to do is that will.
Develop the will.
Yes, so that we can take all these documents, if we are not aware of it, take them. All you need to do is, okay, ask your commissioners, study these things, bring a memo to the council, and let's approve it.
Yes. How much of peer review, are these governors doing? Because they have the forum. The Northern Governors Forum is there for them to articulate or to harmonize some of these issues for wider implementation. But we haven't seen governors going, moving from one state.
You see, this is why I'm telling you that in these 24 years, things have not been. Before, I was opportune to serve as a commissioner during the military regimes, I think in the 80s or so. And in those days, the governors, northern governors, they meet every month. Every month, not quarterly. Later on, they reduce it to quarterly.
Now, sometimes it takes up.
And when they started this Fourth Republic, they were doing it quarterly, later on twice in a year, and then it was abandoned. Then these zones started creating their own Northwest Governors Forum, Northeast Governors Forum, North Central. You know, and the more you subdivide yourself and split yourself, the less effective or impact you are. But when you all meet, come together,
like the Southern governors, I don't think they have any fragmentation like this.
No, they have started too. The Southeast governors, they have their own forum. The South-South governors, they have their own forum. Northwest, Southwest governors, So when you look at it, this is why I'm saying, I don't know. Because most of these governors that we have, a lot of them are well educated. Some of them are, well educated, they have PhD, etc. They are professors, some of them. But I don't know.
With the exception of few, some say a number of them are absentee governors in the first place. You hardly find them sit in the states to even understand the issues. And some are fighting each other, You find, instead of coming
this
together.
Is why I'm saying that we now have to sit down, all these things. For example, if you become an absentee governor, after 8 years, then you start running between you and EFCC, etc. Then what have you achieved? You have not achieved anything. So the earlier our people or our leaders sit and think properly, it doesn't mean anything. At most you'll be there for only 8 years. Maximum. After 8 years, what do you become? Even if you are a senator or whatever you become,
what are the footprints? What have you left behind?
That is it.
That's a fundamental question.
For example, we keep on praising our founding fathers, not because of any, but because of the sacrifice and commitment.
The selfless leadership.
Selfless leadership they provided. That is why we still glorify them. Somehow we talk about them, we pray for them, etc. Even during the Second Republic, was this? Yes, Shagari's time was Second Republic?
Yes.
Okay.
Second Republic. Yes.
During the Second, most of the governors, they were products of the First Republic. And you could see that their attitude in terms of development was like that of the First Republic.
It started declining from
Even
there.
the military regime of General Gawan, right? If you look at it carefully, they were running what they call rolling something. I've forgotten, please.
Okay.
Development plan over 3 years, 4 years. The one that was started by the First Republic. Up to the time Gawan left, it was still that kind of
consistency.
So, but of recent, unfortunately, a governor will start something in his state, something that is viable for the people. That
a number of
once
white
he leaves,
elephant projects
Thank you.
that have no direct bearing.
For example, now
building
people
airports that are not
airport flyovers
abandoned after billions of naira have been spent.
So to me, I think we need to really adjust and provide good leadership, good governance, so that at least our children and our grandchildren will benefit out of it.
Right, okay. Selfless leadership, the political will must be developed to address some of these issues. It's about time we engage viewers. The program is interactive. We're now expanding the interactivity by allowing you to also call in and share your thought with us. We're looking at the best way to revive the struggling northern economy, an economy that has been booming, after independence. It has all the ramifications in terms of industries, in terms of, agricultural productivity, and so on. Even human capital was being developed. I remember the late Sardauna's policy of indigenization and so on were meant to develop skills.
In fact, most of us, I personally, some of us at this age, we are products of that.
Modernization policy.
Yes, modernization and also selfless leadership. I was in my village in Biu, and my headmaster just came and said...
Just for a moment, I understand we have a caller. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, who do we have on the line?
Yeah, you're having Umar Garba from Bauchi State.
Umar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I've listened carefully to the discourse.
Right.
And the food situation of our quagmire here in the north has been the lack of connection, between the leadership and the followership. Regrettably, on recent times, even though as alluded by your guest, our leaders our present leaders from the First Republic from 1999 to date seem to have been disconnected from the mission of our forefathers. And that's the reason why we have seen the plethora of issues confronting us. From insecurity, to modern industries, to youth restlessness, to even lack of cohesion among the political class, to kind of galvanize a kind of idea towards development. And this is where we find ourselves.
Right.
The last government did their best. They brought all manner of reforms and what have you. But the truth of the matter is that we can only do that just for 8 years. And that's it. Now the power shifted to the south. Definitely their own ideology towards the world may not be the same with ours.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
And that's the reason why even the projects we are talking about have largely stalled. These are issues.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, the way forward is that I think from all the 3 regions here in the north, from the northeast, northwest, north central, there needs to be unity of purpose.
Yeah.
A lot of these differences that, have permeated the poverty. We have to give way for reasons.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
I think that is a real.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input. Yes, raising a fundamental issue there, the lack of connection between the people. Most of this leadership, subnational, are disconnected with the people. You find a number of them coming into the center, and a governor sitting for 2 weeks in Abuja without even going to know what is.
Well, I think that is really a problem, because not only the governor, even our own legislators. But then, when you discuss with them, they will tell you because of pressure. But you created this pressure. In my own opinion, you created it.
Okay.
Because you started by giving people money.
Yeah.
Instead of empowering
them.
people.
That's right.
You give them people money. When they come, you give them money. A boy who had never had just a dropout from secondary school, you buy a car of 2 million and give it to him.
How is he going to
that is, he doesn't even know how to drive in the first instance. So naturally, there will be pressure. But if you say, okay, you get them employment, or you get them to engage in some kind of
you find some of them creating
or
centers,
enterprises and so on. Then,
skill acquisition centers, ICT centers.
That is it.
And so on.
If you establish those centers, they will develop themselves and also maybe develop others. Then you don't have that pressure.
Yeah, but is it deliberate? Some say, perhaps
deliberate.
Yeah.
But deliberate. The thing is, if you say deliberate and you send your children to Europe to go and read, when they come back, they are coming back to Nigeria. The next thing, those kids you abandon, they will kidnap them. And then you pay ransom. If you are not careful, they kill them. So what's the
best you can do perhaps is to move to Abuja.
So what's the benefit?
Relocate to Abuja and
even if you are in Abuja, they can still follow you. So to me, I think some of this pressure, we created them somehow.
Right, okay. I think we have another caller. Good evening.
Evening.
Yes.
Evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Ibrahim from Kogi.
Okay, Ibrahim, go ahead.
So, yes, I'm very much interested in your topic this evening.
Right.
You see, our northern leaders of those days, they have fear of God. And they really know that they are serving people. But our present leaders, the only thing that is wrong is that we are to serve them, not them to serve us. And they don't have fear of God. If not, what our forefathers left for us, why should we die? Because I know government doesn't die. Government doesn't die. Government is a continuous issue, and they have to start growing. And now, by then, we don't have manpower, but we have more manpower now, and yet the government is failing. So it's just lack of. There's no fear of God at all. Sadana and Co and Tafa Balewa, they have fear of God, and they are really, developing Nigeria. So may God help us.
Amen. Thank you very much. Another very important issue, the fear of God.
The fear of God.
Which is very fundamental. And a number of these people, after election, they hold on to the Quran and swear that they're going to be just and all of that.
But you see, that issue of fear of God, it starts from the family.
Okay.
If you are not properly brought up, certainly, you will not have that fear of God. And most of, unfortunately, some of these our politicians, some of them, like there was one police commissioner, I think, or inspector, who said most of these legislators, they are mostly criminals at that time. And
I think it was a former president who said that the number of
not former president, former I think AIG or something. He was a senator.
I remember
something like that.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has also said something.
Okay. So you see, from that 1999 to date, politics has been an industry,
a business.
It's a business. A lot of young people who didn't even go to, after, what do you call them, after primary, secondary school, most of them now are chairmen of local government. Some of them are even commissioners in their states. tell me. So another young person will say, what's the point of going to the university? When I can join politics, become a political thug, and then at the end of the day, I will become a commissioner.
I will get rewarded.
And so on and so forth. So really, until we address that issue.
So it also,
otherwise,
it also talks about our leadership recruitment process, some will say. Fundamentally, there's also a gap because it has been monetized to the extent that people with the fear of God, as our last caller has said, people with the capacity, as you rightly mentioned, are deterred, if you like, or are distanced from the political scene because they don't have the watches. They don't have,
Shafi'u, initially, from 1998 and so on, a lot of people that had capacity to deliver were scared to join politics because they felt the military would strike again. So it was left for
in the hands of
people just to jump in. And when they got in there, they became empowered. After first term, second term, some of them had money. And the only way to retain that seat is to make sure that you do whatever is possible to retain that seat.
At all
Though, in some cases, from what we have seen, in particular the legislators, let me say national and also the state, you find that about 60% of them don't come back. And not because of anything. It's not that because they don't have money, but the governor or now determines who comes back.
Right. Very, very quickly, Ibrahim,
Yes.
Maybe your last line. We round up. We laid a foundation, significant foundation as to why we are where we are today, and what needs to be done. In summary, what do you think needs to be done urgently to rescue this collapsing economy?
I think the first thing we should do is to accept that we have made a mistake. Thereafter, then it's easy for you to correct yourself.
Right.
So once our leaders accept that they have really messed up, those in political positions, and decide now to rectify things, then we will move forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Biu, a former National Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Consultative Forum. Thank you very much for your informed perspective.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers,
it's my pleasure.
Where we have to come to the end of this conversation tonight. We also appreciate some of you who have taken time out to call and share their thought with us. We also appreciate our team of technical crew and everyone that has supported the production. On their behalf, I am Shafi'u Suleiman. Many thanks for being there.